Tim Omlu goes over a tenth of a second fast. Hello everyone and welcome to Formula Trout, another round of the Masters Split. This is round 11 from the Hungary, preparing for an exciting 46 lap race. I'm being joined in the commentary booth today by Russ McIntyre as usual. How are you, Russ?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Caitlin. Yep, hello and welcome to the Masters Split. Just come off a fantastic Challenger Split race. It was just absolute chaos everywhere. There were so many different things going on, and ultimately ended up with an unexpected winner and our champion being crowned for that series. Obviously, the Masters Split champion was already crowned last weekend, or last round, sorry, Max Hammerlink and Vermin both taking their titles very early. But I'm sure that won't take away from the racing that we've got on offer here today. And if the Challenger Split is anything to go off of, the Master Split should be absolutely fantastic.
Indeed, Max Hammerlink, of course, still on his incredible 10-race podium streak. And he has wrapped up the Drivers' Championship, and his team, Vermin Racing, are, of course, the team's champions as well. So nothing to play for there, but further back we have battles for second, or, well, not really second in the championship, because Schilder has pretty much wrapped that up now, but we've got battles further down, and we've also got the two remaining races to be decided on track, bragging rights, and confidence to be gained from both of those. Of course, today we're at the Hungary, and in 2 weeks' time we will be at Sao Paulo in Brazil. We're just watching qualifying. We have just under 15 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, and the first lap times are about to be set. I was watching Toby Sanford going around the circuit. I thought that he was going to set a lap, although he appears to have not done. But anyway, so it's apparently Mustafa Muradi currently top of the times, but no one with a properly representative lap time just yet. Russ, considering you've just watched the Challenger Split, what should we be looking out for here in terms of how drivers are going to be fast here and ultimately win this race?
Well, actually, a lot of the Hungarian is about tyres. Obviously, degradation is very high, especially with the hot temperatures. 31 degrees track temp, 26 degrees ambient temp, which in a set of course terms is frankly boiling. And actually, some of the quickest drivers in the race actually stopped very early, went on to the C1, the hardest compound we have available. We don't usually see that. So, yeah, so it seems to be that it favours a going long race. So sorry, getting there a minute, just kind of carry on this little tandem here as well. So yeah, it seems to be a race that favours going long, and as well, just another thing to look out for as well is just the first lap. It's a very, very tricky circuit to overtake. So when you've got so many cars on the first lap going around as well, it's quite hard to keep it on the road, as we found out at the first corner. But yeah, so we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, the thing I'd watch out for is the first corner and the tyres and the strategy.
It's okay, sorry for the interruption there. You stopped talking according to my earphones, so I think maybe just a little bit of lag there.
No worries.
But anyway, so drivers out on track now. Currently it's actually a 1-2 for the team of Mustafa Muradi and Connor Pelkmans. Those two, of course, racing for the Volpino Racing squad. And of course, we're still yet to see some competitive lap times from the Vermin racing cars, and from the other competitive drivers, the Griffin racing cars haven't been out yet either, or at least haven't been out for competitive laps. Only one of the Vermin racing cars is actually here right now, which is a shame, although it's what we've seen in previous races with Jack Smith and Oscar Williams swapping seats, and then neither of them turning up last time. And unfortunately, we also do not have Andreas Schilder here today. He is pretty much confirmed as second in the championship, so maybe feels that he doesn't need to turn up for these final two rounds, although it's a shame, because if he did, then he could definitely pick up some more wins and get some more track time and he has to serve a back of the grid penalty apparently, so maybe coming in late, not feeling that he wants to do qualifying, or maybe just not wanting to do this race from the back of the grid. But anyway, what do you make of that, Russ?
It'll be interesting to see how well he can do from the back of the grid. I don't actually know why he's got the penalty. I'm sure I can find out with a bit of investigation on the Trout Discord, which you can join, whether if you click the link down below. We're a friendly bunch, and if you haven't already, make sure you click that follow button on Twitch. It's greatly appreciated by everyone here at the Trout. But yeah, it should be interesting to see him coming through the field. He's obviously a very, very quick driver, and he's obviously got a lot of talent as well. So yeah, it should be interesting to see how he fares. I mean, in the race we watched, one of the championship competitors was last after the first corner, and then managed to fight his way up into second place at one point, and then actually ran out of fuel on the last lap, unfortunately for him. But yeah, it was still a very nice drive nonetheless. So yeah, it could be quite interesting to see what he does, especially on the strategy front, how he deals with the first lap and the first corner. Should be interesting to see. I've got high hopes from him, and it should be an interesting performance for us to watch here in the commentary booth.
Well, you say that, but it does depend on whether he turns up. Anyway, Mustafa Maradi crosses the line to improve his lap time, 1:15.606, proving to be the driver to beat in the early stages here. And even if we see Max Hamlin going for the top like would be expected, then it would still be exciting to see the midfield battle it out. Toby Sanford now going third, although a long way off, and Halligan going P2, although Maradi still a long way ahead of the rest of the field, so setting the early pace. And I'm not sure what kind of lap times Max Hamlin thinks he can do, but Maradi starting to worry his opponents potentially in these early stages. Still, Max Hamlin yet to set a lap, of course, as is Christoph Berzer. Hamlin has not exited the pits, and actually, I just thought, did I misunderstand what you were saying earlier? Is it Max Hamlin who's got the back of the grid penalty? Ah, my apologies. I thought you meant that Andreas Schilder had a back of the grid penalty. That's where the confusion came from. Okay, so Hamlin will not be heading out in qualifying. That means that Maradi is indeed going to be the driver to beat here. Sorry for the miscommunication.
Yeah, Hamlin from the back of the grid. Oh yeah, that'll be interesting. As we said, now we're just into the kind of last 9 minutes of qualifying now. On board with Alex Cochrane as he heads through turn one. Very tricky corner to get right. Here is a man who has watched the Nico Rosberg How to Get This Track Right video on YouTube, because he did straighten out the wheel after the first turn. Well done. He's probably overheard me complaining about nobody doing it in the challenges, but he's tuning that for me. If anyone didn't know, Nico Rosberg does now run a YouTube channel, and one of the things that he started to do last year while all the co-Grand Prix were going on, was decided to do track guides for the races. And one of the ones he did was here at the Hungaroring, and one piece of advice that sticks in my mind was after turn one, you straighten the steering wheel up as quickly as you can, so you basically straight line out the corners to make sure you get as much traction down as possible. And nobody was doing that, so clearly nobody's watched Nico Rosberg. This is the 2016 F1 World Champion, and nobody's watched this track guide video. To say I'm disappointed would be a bit of an understatement, you know. I can't believe you disrespect Nico Rosberg like that. But yeah, interesting to see that Alex Cochrane is doing that, so he's obviously overheard me. But into the final corners now he goes anyway. Let's see what lap time it's going to be. We're already surpassing the Challenger split pole time. It was a high 1:15, so and the track's just going to get quicker and quicker. And Alex Cochrane crossed the line. I believe that was a 1:16.678 you just got there. The total lap record round was set by Lewis Hamilton in the 2020 Formula 1 qualifying. It was a 1:13.447. Not sure if we're going to quite hit those lap times because of how hot it is here today, but we're certainly going to get close. The race lap record is a 1:16.627, which I think should be very reachable for these Master Split guys. Jan Dragoon ran in the final corner as well. He goes to the pole at 1:15.216. Great lap there. 2.5 cents quicker than Connor Peltman's as well. So Jan Dragoon currently the man to beat there, Caitlin.
The only non-Volpino car in the top, in the 1:15s as we speak. Connor Peltman's, of course, making a return to this championship. He raced for Younger GP in the early stages of the season, picking up a 7th place at Bahrain, which is his best result. although after Germany left Younger GP and was replaced at that team. And now he's back in the Volcano car and proving, sorry, as I've got the hiccups, to be very, very quick. In fact, so quick that the only three cars are in the 115s. Alrighty, 115.606. He's about to complete another lap, it seems, and goes to the top, and he's the first driver in the 114s. My goodness, that Volcano car really is looking very, very quick today. That looks like genuine pace to me. So Mustafa Moradi, P1. Jan Dragoon heading into the pits. He will go for another run, I expect. Connor Peltmans has been sitting in the pits for a little while now, possibly setting up for his final run. Same goes for Christoph Berzer. And that's fascinating there because, yes, you know, the Volpino cars have been there or thereabouts in the midfield as Toby Sanford goes up to P4 for pretty much this entire season. But if you were going to pick a pole position runner out of these, you'd have to either go for Christoph Berzer or maybe one of the Oxtan drivers. David Halligan, they're going up to fourth place just to reinforce my point. Jan Dragoon, of course, was very quick at Monza, but somehow the Volpino appears to be the car to beat, and that's potentially due to a fantastic setup. But these two drivers doing a great job behind the wheel at this point in time, Russ.
Yeah, indeed. Alex Corcoran just spinning and backing into the barrier there. But yeah, the Volpino car seems to be very, very quick at the moment. And the Oxtan guys as well. I know the Volpino guys have a very close relationship with Team Vermin, so they may be potentially using the infamous Vermin setup that has kind of gone down in the history books as of Assetto Corsa setup lore. But yeah, the Oxtan guys are looking pretty quick as well. David Halligan and Toby Sanford P4 and 5 at the moment in the last 5 minutes of qualifying. Sanford is not on a lap, it seems, because he's just driven straight off the road there. But yeah, they're looking quite quick as it stands. And yeah, a couple of the cars just not quite where you'd expect them to be. The no, Finlandia cars looking pretty quick though, to be fair. I'll give them that. Looks like there's only going to be maybe 12, 13 cars out there on track, something like that. So not the biggest amount of people on the grid today, but that certainly didn't take away from the excitement in the challenge books. I'm sure it won't take away from here either. Jordi Lewis rounding the final corner, and he's going to be setting a lap time that is well off the pace. It's a 1:15 point. Yeah, not a great lap time there from Jordi Lewis. But there is still 4 minutes left, so there's still time for another run or two if you're very, very keen. Mustafa Moradi, though he's looking very, very quick. This is the guy who came in fresh into the Challenger split, dominated the first two races, and then immediately got signed up to the top split. So we know he's got a lot of pace, and now I think they've finally seen that, realised, I think he's finally settled into the Master Split here at Formula Trout. And yeah, I think he's finally showing us what he can do.
Christoph Berzer just did a very good first sector. I'm watching his time. Let's see what it is in the second sector. Not as quick, but still, Berzer showing that he's got much more pace than he's shown so far. I wouldn't be surprised if this lap ends up being an entire second quicker than what he's already done. Here he goes through the final two corners of the track, the two hairpins. It's interesting, or it's impossible to know exactly when you should get on the power through there. It always feels wrong. Across the line he goes, up to P3. It's not quite a second faster than what he did before, but it is. It's over 8 tenths per second faster. Jan Dragoon now improves as well, stays P2. Only just under 2 tenths per second off Mustafa Moradi. So not hugely close up front, but it's closer than it was. And Dragoon still showing that he has pace. So will Peltmans and Halligan exit the pits and go for another run before the end of the session, or will it be between Moradi, Dragoon, and Berzer to fight it out for pole? We shall see as Southwood moves up to P7. Not many changes going on further back, and we still, of course, we haven't seen what Max Hamlin can do. We'll only get to see that when the actual race starts. But great stuff up in front from Moradi and Dragoon, and Christoph Berzer there, who appears to be on an in-lap right now. And if he can come back quickly, he may still get another run. But anyway, intriguing stuff here in qualifying, Russ.
Yeah, indeed. Just on Moradi, actually, on his in-lap, was actually up in the middle sector on his pole time. He was on an in-lap, but that's very interesting to see. So he's obviously still got some pace left on the board. He's the only guy really in the mid 114s right now. Dragoon's about 2/10 off of him. And then behind them, Berza is a long, long way off. You know, yeah, a whole 6/10 behind. And so yeah, but there's still a minute to go. So still time for another run as Alex Cochrane will begin his final lap here. So still plenty of time to get another lap and still plenty of time to improve. And yeah, I think the Oxtang guys, especially given how strong they were running earlier on, I think they'll be the ones who will be most looking to improve. But Moradi's just looking so quick. Dragoon as well, to be fair, is looking very pacey. But Moradi is really on it at the moment. A 1:14.638 is a phenomenal lap time around there in this car, and in these conditions as well. So he is really flying. Alex Cochrane up though in the first sector, as he comes around now to the very, very tricky, very, very awkward chicane. It almost feels it was plonked there for safety reasons, but actually it's been there the entire time the track's been there. Now into the middle sector, left, right, left, right. Very, very simple on paper, but very, very tricky in reality. What's the last split going to be? He is down now on the pole time by 0.3 of a second, so he was quicker in the first sector, but he's down in the middle sector, so it's going to be a strong final sector if he wants to have a go at that pole time. David Halligan now crosses the line to start what will be his final lap of the race, I believe. Just going to check where Alex Cochrane goes on the screen on our left. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes to third with a 1:15.472. Just beats Christoph Berza. So nice little lap there from Alex Cochrane, but still only those top two, Caitlin, in the 1:14s.
Indeed, and we have pretty much no time to go now. Christoph Berza incidentally did get onto his final flying lap, so he will have a chance, and he will probably be the last car across the line at the end of the session. Cochrane's made a mistake. I'm not sure that he is going to be improving at all. His first sector time is a long way down, and he's backing off. So Cochrane will not go fast, although he's done a good job to get up to third. Dragoon and Moradi are both on laps of their own. Dragoon is about to break the first sector beam. It's quick. It's very quick from Jan Dragoon. And he spins! So Dragoon, who looks as if he may have been about to go up, goes off, as does Cochrane. So, Mustafa Moradi is pretty much confirmed to be on pole position here, unless Christoph Berza can pull something special out of the bag. Halligan goes third in the late stages. Berza's second sector time is a long way down. He appears to have backed off as well. So that means the session is pretty much over. What about Peltmans? Out of the final corner he comes, goes second. It's going to be a Volpino 1-2. It is indeed. So Volpino are going to start 1-2 on the grid. It doesn't look as if anything else is about to change for us.
Yeah, that is a great result for Volpino. 1-2. Fantastic stuff for them. Moradi as well. 0.4 quicker than Peltmans. And Peltmans is a driver who is phenomenally quick. So Moradi out of nowhere, just kind of uncommon then. Show us what you got. He is absolutely demolished every time out there completely. Phenomenal lap from him. But yeah, Peltman's into P2. Great stuff for Volpino. Dragoon as well, P3. Great lap from him. We've seen a real shake-up of the usual order here at the Hungaroring. Should lead to a very exciting race. I think the Oxtang guys, David Halligan put in a fantastic lap as well. Toby Sanford, I think, made a mistake and had to bail on his final lap. But we've seen a few people up there who you wouldn't really expect to see. I mean, the first driver, Christoph Berza and Alex Cochrane, 5 and 6. Those are two that you'd be expecting to see up the front. And, they're well down the order. So very interesting to see that. But yeah, I'm all excited for that Volpino front row. I say bring on the race.
So here's the grid. It's Mustafa Moradi starting from pole positions alongside Connor Peltmans, 2 Volpinos up front there. It's a shame there's a little bit of an asterisk over that, which is that Max Hammerling and Andreas Schilder, the 2 traditionally fastest drivers, were not able to qualify. Then we have Jan Dragoon and David Halligan making up the second row of the grid, followed by Alex Cochrane, Christoph Berza, Jordi Lauis, Toby Sanford, Dave Southwood, Cyprian Stoyan, and then David Bull. And the final car on the grid is going to be Max Hammerling. Gustavo Della Valle, incidentally, is also registered as being here, so whether he will start or not, it looks as if he is planning to start, meaning we will have 13 cars on the grid as opposed to the 11 who set qualifying times, and that means we have an even more exciting race to look forward to. So, who is it going to be? Will it be one of the Volpino cars? Will it be Jan Dragoon? Will Max Hamlin come through from the back of the grid, and where will he place if he gets through? We will have to find out the answer to all of these through trial by combat, the only true way to find out what's going to happen in a race such as this, and that will be in 1 minute's time. So leave your comments leave your predictions in the comments, either on Twitch or YouTube. I believe we're live on both. If not, we're definitely live on Twitch, and we will see who gets the closest. Even though this race is very difficult to predict. Russ, what are you looking out for in this race?
Well, those two Volpino guys on pole, yeah, that's very unexpected. That being said, it's one thing to be quick in qualifying and another thing to be quick in the race. So we'll have to see how they fare on the race pace. As I said at the start of the broadcast, the main thing I'm looking out for at the moment is how the strategy plays out, because it appears to be that those favouring a big undercut and a longer stint on the hardest compound of tyres, it seems to favour those drivers. That seems to be the quickest way around the race there. And as well, Max Hamlin coming from the back. That should be very interesting. David Halligan in P4, that's I think that'll be really interesting to see. He's not usually the quickest qualifier out there. He's much more of a get it done in the race kind of guy. So for him to be on P4 as well, that'll be interesting. But well, we can't really predict anything, Caitlin. It's all down to what they do over the next 46 laps.
So here we go, the 6 red lights preparing to illuminate, and when they go out, we will be underway for 46 laps of racing. And here they go. Now, away we go. The rear tyres light up, and it's a good start for Mustafa Moradi. He is going to block off the inside line straight away. He'll be able to do so. Jan Dragoon on the outside, and a big dive from Halligan up the inside. Ooh, some contact. Peltmans and Dragoon. Peltmans and Dragoon. So that puts Halligan up to second, Cochrane up to third, and they might be about to touch as well. Cochrane's going to get second, as in the background, Peltmans once again in the wars with Halligan. So they all just about get through. It looks if they weren't going to. The back of the grid, David Bull and Gustavo Dalla Valle side by side. Up in front, it's Moradi, Cochrane, Halligan, Berza and Lawes. And that is the order. Ross, what a start.
Well, we saw in the challenge split, it was a chaotic start into the first corner. It's been the same here, just a massive dive from David Halligan. I don't think Peltman's expected it. Turned in. Oh, that's Southern round as well. So Southern's gone for a spin, so the chaos continues. But as I was saying, I don't think Peltman was expecting Halligan on the inside, and then just got scared, ran wide into Dragoon. They pair of them made contact, and that was that. And now Peltman's P6, Dragoon P8. And that's going to probably be some damage to the Volpino car, I reckon, as well. But Moradi leads on the first lap. Cochrane 2, great stuff. Remember, Halligan 3 as well. Jordi Lawes up to P5 as well, some great stuff. Max Hammerlink is up to 9th place already from the back of the grid. That's a phenomenal start for the, well, what is now the reigning champion, obviously after he took the championship last weekend. But great stuff there from Max Hammerlink. That is fantastic.
Yeah, great stuff from Hammerlink, but we would expect no less. Hammerlink up into 9th place. His next target will be Jan Dragoon, who will be a tough cookie to pass, considering he had a lot of pace in qualifying. We know that Hammerlink can do it though. So, up in front, Moradi has already extended his lead to 1.6 seconds. Cochrane slightly missing the apex there. Halligan is gaining on him, and may end up with a battle for second before the end of this lap. Christoph Berza, Jordi Lawes, and the rest of the field, pretty much. With the exception of Southwood or Southern, who lost out on that first lap, are in a train. So when DRS comes into play, it will get even more exciting. Another missed apex there from Alex Cochrane. He is feeling the pressure from David Halligan behind. And I should remind you, these are the two who ended up in the wars with each other at the Nürburgring, that horrendous round where they collided something like 6 or 7 times, and that's no exaggeration. On the exit of the final corner, Halligan is going to start slipstreaming. Fastest lap for Moradi, that's to be expected, and the rest of the field pretty much a second off his pace, which actually scratch that, because there are some drivers further back who were very nearly on his pace. Jan Dragoon trying to escape from Max Hammerlink, really pushing in these early stages. Halligan was not able to get past Alex Cochrane that time, although this lap, the DRS will be enabled. He will get a lot closer to the back of Cochrane's car on the straights for us.
Yeah, the DRS is going to be very powerful. That's what I took from the Challenger split. I'm sure that will be a similar scenario in the Master Split as well. And Berger, I'm pretty sure, will be wanting to move past Halligan as quickly as he can, because Maradi's just peeling away into the distance. Now, there's a lot of pace in that Volpino machine, and a lot of pace from that driver as well around here. Looking through as well, a couple of drivers are, well, we could be seeing a bit of a DRS train going on here, to be honest. Colin Hunt was down in P6, will also be a driver looking to make some moves after that first corner incident. Yeah, the DRS should be hopefully enabling some overtaking action for a few of those who think they're quicker than the cars in front, but it could also be a bit of a double-edged sword. Because if the car behind you has DRS, then they get technically double DRS, so they go even faster, because they've got slipstream from you, and then you can end up having an accident just, you know, from trying. Well, I've had an accident with my DRS open before going down a straight, that's what I'll say. It can actually be quite dangerous changing direction. So into T1 we go on board with Toby Sanford, who's maintained his position in P7. There's Dave Southern trying to get past David Bull there around the outside. That is a very easy overtake, and through he goes. That's our camera car of Mr.
Oh, and Sanford's dropping. Sanford dropped 2 places. Jordi Lois and Conor Peltman's both through. So maybe a mistake from Toby Sanford there, and he goes back to P7. Meanwhile, Mustafa Maradi's lead has extended to 3.5 seconds, and that's important because even if, say, Max Hamlin was able to come through, and transponder issues there. Sorry, I got really distracted because it looks if Jordi Lois had shot through to the lead for some bizarre reason. That is not the case, obviously. But anyway, even if someone like Max Hamlin was able to get through into second and to start catching, he'd have a big gap to gain on Mustafa Maradi before catching up to him. So that is a good position for Mustafa to be in right now. DRS will come into play for David Halligan here, and there you see it on the back of the Oxtan racing car. He's getting closer and closer to Cochrane's car, but was too far back on the straight there, as was Christoph Berzer and everyone behind. Sanford have a little go at Peltman's, and may have another go on the exit because there is a second DRS zone here. Peltman's going defensive, Sanford to the outside, make sure not to dip wheels onto the grass, and settles for 7th, and may have to for the remainder of the lap because it's very difficult to overtake him until you get to the straights.
Yeah, it's we see 2 cars there running wide in front. Yeah, it's kind of gained a reputation in real life of being Monaco without walls. It's kind of got this nickname here, the Hungary. It's not too bad in Assetto Corsa and in sim racing in general, because obviously Assetto Corsa simulation and dirty air isn't exactly great. It is still bad. You can see from the onboard how much you can see that how much Sanford was struggling there, and how much Halligan's struggling there as well. It does certainly have an impact, but it is not as bad as real life. So it's a bit easier to make an overtake here than it would be in reality. But it's still difficult. The best place is really with the DRS down into turn 1.
Going from Sanford, contact with Hamlin, and Sanford's facing backwards, recovers. I think Hamlin will get away without too much damage there because it was only a very small tap on the front wing, and Sanford's coming into the pits, so feels that his tyres are toast. Now, Hungary has always had a reputation for ruining tyres. Of course, in 2011, the real life Grand Prix here had the record for the most pit stops in one Grand Prix ever, as pretty much every driver went for either a 3-stop or 4-stop strategy. And of course, there were 24 drivers on the grid that year, so you do the maths. Halligan getting very close to Cochrane there, but spinning the car around like that certainly won't help your tyres for Toby Sanford, will they, Russ?
No.
Oh, and Lois spins. Lois is spun too.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, round as well.
Appears to have tagged the Armco. He was running 5th, and he's going to drop well and truly outside of the top 10. Valley up into the top 10 now. Hamlin got to 7th. Big shame for Lois, and of course for Sanford, who spun at the end of last lap.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems to be turning into a race of attrition very quickly, as we just follow Christoph Berzer now through into the penultimate corner. And yeah, spinning here at a track where degradation is already incredibly bad, and with the high track temperature we're running as well, it's just going to be game over for your tyres. I think Sanford did the perfect thing there and just came immediately into the pits. He knew there was no point trying to fight them around for another lap because he was just going to lose time. He is now last place, but I presume he's gone onto the C1 tyre, so he'll be trying to go long. And, well, in race 1 we saw, oh, that's a big lock up there for Cyprian Stoyan, and that's going to allow Dalla Valle and Southern both past. But, yeah, as I was just saying, in the first race, it seemed that going long onto the C1 tyres was a more preferable strategy. And there does fly Dalla Valle finally past Stoyan after Stoyan hit the brakes a little bit later than you'd have anticipated. And so, yeah, Sanford, Lowes comes into the pits as well, I think. So
Sanford on the way into the pits.
yeah, so Sanford, oh, he spins again. Well, all I'm going to say is I think Sanford, now that he's on those C1 tyres, he's going to be one to watch out for in the latter stages of this race.
We often see that if a driver spins once, they tend to spin multiple times because of how the tyres heat up and wear, and he's out of the race, I'm afraid. He's disconnected from the server, so he becomes our first official retirement here from this race, and that is a big shame. You were saying it was a race of attrition, and that may end up being the case, although before then it was looking like a race of who can spin the least. But now, of course, the attrition has really started to kick off with Jordi Lowes deciding that enough is enough. Now watch Halligan as he gains on Cochrane and goes to the outside. Cochrane was very defensive, covered off the inside line, knew that that's where Halligan wanted to go, but Halligan doesn't need the inside line. He's got the DRS, and strangely, they both have DRS. That's not supposed to happen. And now down into the hairpin, the second hairpin, and Halligan locks up on the exit, had a little twitch, had to touch the brakes. That's going to cost him that place, and it may cost him another place. Christoph Berzer through on the inside, and he gets third place. Berzer's on the podium. Oh, and contact with Peltmans. And Peltmans goes way off the road and into the barriers. An impact for Colin Peltmans, and he was the innocent victim there. Just stuck his nose where Halligan didn't expect it to be, and they made contact.
Yeah, contacts, just unfortunate for both of them. But they'll be able to keep going, I'm sure. Hopefully not too much damage for either one of them. This front, this battle for second now, I suppose, is Cochrane, Berzer, Halligan, and Dragoon as well behind. All very, very close. Moradi, 7-second lead now. That was someone spinning in the front, I think. And that's
Peltmans again.
Peltmans again spinning. Oh! Almost contact there with Stoyan. Yeah, Peltmans again, spinning again. So he'll need to come into the pits very quickly. Those tyres are going to be very cooked. And that's Dalla Valle going for a half spin as well. They're locking up. So seems to be there's more people going around here than there is at a carousel. And Peltmans doesn't come in. Hey, Hammerlink comes into the pits, but Peltmans doesn't.
Hammerlink making a very early pit stop here, going onto the C2s. And he will do a long stint on those C2s. Probably can't go the entire distance, but it's going to be a long stint for Max Hammerlink to try to gain that advantage that you were talking about earlier on. It's going to be difficult, but that will give him the clean air, the clean road that he may need. And it also means, and Peltmans did come in by the way, but it also means that there's less of a chance. Oh, Jan Dragoon just had an off there from 5th place. Stays 5th because there was no one around him, but lost maybe 5 or so seconds in that. So that means that there's now a big gap between 4th place and 5th place. The top 4 really breaking away, even though there's a big gap between 1st and 2nd as well. The field's starting to spread out at this point, unless you're looking at Cochrane, Berzer, and Halligan, who are still fighting. So, will we see anyone else adopt that early pit stop strategy that we saw from Hammerlink and the other spinners? I presume that if other drivers have instants, like spins for example, it may force them to react. Berzer, they're going defensive from Halligan into turn 1. And they stay in the same positions just about. Now, Russ, a lap ago, or 2 laps ago I think it was now, we saw Cochrane and Berzer going side by side, and they both deployed the DRS out of turn 1. Now, I don't think that should have happened, because there's another DRS detection zone on the, I think midway through turn 1, so that should have reset the DRS activation. And it should have meant that the driver who was behind there got the DRS. There was no car in front of the two to give them both the DRS. And in race 1, of course, in the Challenger split, we saw drivers getting penalised for using the DRS when they weren't allowed it. So, should we be worried about that for either Cochrane or Berzer?
Potentially. I mean, obviously the drivers have a beep in their ear in which they're allowed to use DRS. However, one of them may have just jumped the gun and presumed they were behind. I've certainly done that before in other series when I was driving. It's either that, or they were both perfectly next to each other at the timing line and both got the beat, which I doubt happened. But yeah, unfortunate for them, for whoever it was, because probably one of them has in fact used DRS under Liga. That's a 3-second time penalty. So at the end of the race, you will have 3 seconds added to your race time. So, you know, if it's Cochrane, that demotes him 2 positions. If it's Berza right now, it demotes him 1 position. So not ideal for whoever gets it. Hopefully we can have some confirmation from somebody at some point who it was. But yeah, not ideal. But yeah, something has clearly happened there that shouldn't have happened. Obviously, you're only allowed to use DRS when you're within 1 second of the car in front. If the car in front's also using it, and obviously Cochrane is not within 1 second of Mustafa Moradi, he's actually 8.3 seconds behind him. Moradi is flying, and he has used DRS illegally, then he will get a 3-second penalty. Hopefully he hasn't, as Peltman sets the fastest lap of the race there, 1:16.987. Very quick lap there. Yeah, so the Volpino car is still absolutely flying. So even though Peltman's not exactly up the front of the grid anymore, he's still setting fastest laps of the race. So yeah, that's yeah, they're definitely the cars to watch out for at the moment.
And that's partly because he came into the pits for fresh tyres, and it's also partly because he is just very, very fast. But anyway, so down the straight again, go Cochrane, Berza, and Halligan. More DRS for Berza and Halligan, but they seem to be a little too far behind. There is, of course, another DRS in on the exit. A lap ago, I was concerned that Halligan was going to run into the back of Berza. I saw a little twitch there on the exit of turn 1, but they both got away with it just about. Now, Peltman's instantly has had another off as Berza now run very wide, managed to keep it on the road. Halligan approaching, he's going to be right on him into turn 4 here, but has to back out of it because that is not an overtaking opportunity. Talking of that, Hamlin just got past Gustavo Dalla Valle for P7, and his next target is Cyprian Stoyan for P6. And it's interesting how, even though Hamlin made a pit stop earlier on in this race, he actually didn't lose that much time at all. It's a relatively short pit lane here, partly because the pit entry is on the inside, so you get a little bit of a shortcut on the way in. Oh, Sanford's just had enough as well. Drops behind Dragoon and Bull, so Bull now into the top 10. As Peltman's is back into the pits and possibly out of the race now. And Bull's going round and into the wall. He'd only just inherited the top 10, and now he's out of it again. So Sanford back into that top 10 position. That's a shame for David Bull, who hasn't had that many top finishes in this series so far. He's only had the one at Belgium, and may still get it, as this is a bit of a race for Tristan so far. Although not so much actually, because I've just seen that Conor Peltman is back in the race a lap down. But anyway, an instant there for David Bull, and he's now a minute behind the leader.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunate for David Bull there, but that's just, you know, part of the nature of this track. It's very, very easy to spin around here. So that's Max Hamlin getting past, actually no, defending from Cyprian Stoyan, that is.
No, he got past him.
No, he is getting past. Apologies, he's pitted, hasn't he? My apologies for that. Yeah, Max Hamlin getting past Cyprian Stoyan, our new champion. Continuing on his charge from the back of the grid. He's now got 8 seconds to Dave Southern in front. Southern has not boxed yet. And Hamlin thinks he can get that C2 tire to the end, I think. He may be stopping again, because I don't think that's possible for how early he's boxed. David Bull comes into the pits again. And, well, honestly, right now, it's all just kind of sitting and waiting to see when those front 4 pit. Moradi, Cochrane, Berza and Halligan. Moradi's got 10.5 seconds to the good at the moment. But those other 3 just stuck together in that battle for second. And it's all about who pits when, because it seems to be that the undercut is favoured here at Hungary. Moradi right now, though, absolutely flying. Oh, Berza goes round! Berza goes round. I think he's just locked the rear brakes there. Unbelievable.
Goodness,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Yeah, just Christopher just locking the rear brakes. That's bizarre.
I was looking down at the time, but I presume he just got a little distracted by Cochrane in front of him. It can become a little metronomic and boring when you're following a car like that. And Halligan now taking a look, running wide, and that's a lap car. That's Conor Peltman's there getting in the way, and it's all kicking off between this bunch now. I hope the Berza wasn't distracted by Halligan. No, looking at the replay, he seemed to be more distracted by Cochrane and just kind of locked the rear brakes. But that puts Halligan, of course, now up onto the podium, into the podium positions. I think Berza's going to come into the pits on this lap. He will probably want to replace those tires. And I wouldn't be surprised if Halligan comes into the pits as well, to get out of the dirty air of Connor Peltmans. I think Peltmans may have just passed Halligan actually, and is looking to unlock himself to Cochrane as well. Meanwhile, Maradi's lead is up to 12 seconds, so he is absolutely Maradiing off at the front of the field. And Peltman's now going up the inside, locking a brake slightly, but getting a lap back on Alex Cochrane.
Yeah, interesting battle going on here between Peltmans and Peltmans and yeah, Cochrane unlapping himself. Sorry, just having a brain moment, I think. Yeah, Peltman's unlapping himself, so he's got a lot of pace in him. He's got the fastest lap of the race as it stands. We know the Volpino cars are very quick. Obviously, Maradi is absolutely running away at the front of the field, and Cochrane then unlapping himself as well. And I assume when he gets to Maradi, that'll be a very quick Maradi getting out the way for his team boss to let him unlap himself. So yeah, very interesting there to see how much pace that Volpino car has. Lap 15 of 46. There's still a lot of time left in this race. Still plenty of time for Peltmans to get back up the order. Yeah, still plenty of time for things to happen. Yeah, this could be a very interesting race. It could be interesting to see how far he gets with drivers spinning, drivers retiring. And with the pace that he's currently got, you know, he could be, you know, I'm going to call it now, he could be looking at a podium at the end of this race.
I very much doubt it, I'm afraid. Connor Peltmans, of course, has already stopped twice, and he's a lap down, and may have to stop again, because he only changed onto those C2s very early in that second stop. He definitely has the pace to be very good, but I'm afraid it's a bit late now, because he's made far too many mistakes. He just set the fastest lap of the race again, though, on those C2 tyres. I wouldn't count him out of the points finish, though. Oh, and slight contact between Della Valle and Stoyan. They just about get away with it. They're now going to pass Southwood, because Southwood's in the pits. David Bull in the pits as well as we talk. But Della Valle and Stoyan were very lucky to get away with that one. Meanwhile, Halligan is caught back up to Cochrane. And David Bull has retired from this race, so 11 out of 13 cars remaining. A shame for David Bull, who at one point looked as if he was going to get his best finish of the season so far. Wide goes Cochrane. This is very reminiscent of the first few laps of the race, when, oh my goodness, and Halligan repaying the favour by going even wider on the exit of the S's. But this is very reminiscent of the early stages of the race, where Halligan was putting Cochrane under pressure, and Cochrane was making mistakes until Crystal Berza got involved and held Halligan back. But anyway, good stuff between Cochrane and Halligan right now. Halligan's going to have a go with the DRS race.
Yeah, on board with Halligan now, down the main straight, across the start-finish line, and that's Cochrane going to fence on the inside, Halligan to the outside, hard on the brakes, Cochrane locks up the inside front wheel, and it's going to just hang Halligan out to dry, but he's still there, he's still got a lot of traction from that corner, but no, I think Cochrane will just hold on for the time being. But that was a good move from Halligan again, having a look through there. So Halligan is there, he's got pace, it's just Cochrane just defending stoically at the moment, just making his car wider than their track as it stands. Hungary is a very hard track to overtake. It is notoriously difficult to get past cars here. And we saw a lot of overtakes actually in the challenge split, some very impressive ones. And hopefully Halligan can amaze me even more after what I've seen in the challenge split earlier. We know he's faster than Cochrane at this stage in the race. He just needs to put the cherry on top and get past him.
Yep, and that was good defending there from Alex Cochrane. And if he can do it once, he can do it again. So Halligan will have to try something different in order to get past him. Maybe an undercut. Let's watch as they go past the pits this time. See if anyone decides to duck in. Not yet, but at some point, one of these drivers is going to try to do something slightly sneakier than the other with the strategy. DRS once again for David Halligan. He's going to get close, maybe as close as he was a lap ago. This is looking closer, actually. Once again, Cochrane defends the inside line. Halligan trying to leave his braking really, really late to go around the outside. And who gets the DRS? Again, they both do. Much like I saw earlier in the race, that's, again, not supposed to happen. Halligan still on the inside. Whoa, they were so close to having a Red Bull-style accident through there. And Halligan gets the move done. A brilliant overtaking manoeuvre. I feel like he did the same thing to someone else earlier on. Cochrane takes another look, tries to force Halligan offline. Halligan keeps it on the curb. Halligan gets P2.
Well, there you go. I was just saying a lap ago, let's see if Halligan can amaze me. And he did just then. Great stuff from David through there. Just holding firm and slipping by into second place. But he's got 15 seconds to make up to Mustafa Moradi in P1. Oh no! Cochrane spins! Cochrane dips the wheel onto the grass and goes round on the exit of the right-hander. Oh, and he's let Burza through as well. So now Halligan's clear in P2, and Cochrane's tyres will be absolutely baking, so he's going to need to come into the pits. So disaster there for Alex Cochrane, just dipping a wheel and round the car goes.
With frustration and distraction for Alex Cochrane, and it's not the first time that we've seen that. And he's definitely going into the pits now. He feels the car is out of control. But yeah, once the car gets overtaken, and Burza are also in. So both of them into the pits now. Burza, of course, inherits the podium after that spin, and there was contact between Jan Dragoon and Ciprian Stoyan further back. And Stoyan is going to keep that P6. I think Dragoon slightly backing off there into one of those hairpins. Stoyan deciding he wants no further part of that scrap, and also ducks into the pits, much like Burza and Cochrane. Can we have a look quickly at what tyres those two are on? Because I, of course, can't see that properly on my screen. We'll see that in a minute, but anyway, Burza and Cochrane P4 and P5, with Hammerlink ahead of them, although Hammerlink, of course, stopped very, very early in this race for us.
Yeah, Hammerlink was one of the first stoppers actually, but as I said, early stops seem to be favourable around here. Hammerlink's made up a lot of ground. Whether those tyres will last to the end is questionable, I'll say that much. As we go on board with our race leader, Mustafa Moradi, who has, well, he's not put a foot wrong this entire race, has he? He's just been phenomenal, and I don't really know what else to say about him. It's been great watching him. And as he heads through into turns 3 and 4, and it's just been great stuff from Mustafa Moradi so far this entire race, and he's taken those tyres a long way as well. 20 laps on the C3s is very impressive. I'd surely expect to see him coming into the pits sometime soon for a set of C2s to go to the end. But yeah, it's been a masterclass in tyre management. It's been a masterclass in racecraft as well from Mustafa Moradi.
And Hammerlink's now up to second because David Halligan came into the pits. We're yet to see whether that's net second or not. We're yet to see whether Hammerlink is going to come in again. He doesn't technically have to, according to the rules, because he has Kane's tyre compound. Halligan, meanwhile, on the C2s, incidentally. But of course, Hammerlink will have to come in if his tyres are going off the cliff by the end of this race. And we'll probably go on to a set of C4s if he does. Now, Moradi into the pits from the lead. Mustafa Moradi, who's led the entire race so far, will be going on to a set of C2s from those C3s, and he will go to the end of the race on those set of tyres, I expect. It's not going to be too difficult for him, because if he can do 21 laps on the C3s, then he can definitely do 25 on the C2s. Let's see what the gap for the lead is. David Hammerlink is coming across the line now. Hammerlink, a very quick last lap actually. That was looking very good from Max. Did I say David Hammerlink? I meant Max. But anyway. So 6.2 seconds is the gap for the lead now. Moradi will possibly extend that because he's on fresher and fresher tyres, not softer tyres. They're both on the same compound. But even if he doesn't, he certainly will if Hammerlink has to stop again.
Yeah, indeed. Hammerlink, I think, might have to stop again, just given how early he went onto those C3s. And he's got 6 seconds. He is flying, to be fair, but he's got 6 seconds to Moradi in front. It's about a 20-second pit stop around here. So it's going to be a lot of hard work if he wants to win this race. But he's certainly in for a good result so far. But Moradi, though, the fact that he's come in for his stop and is still out in the lead just shows how quick he is today. He's been absolutely flying. Halligan as well, still in P3. Oh, that's very wide from Max Hammerlink. Just completely missed his braking zone, I think. But, you know, no spinning, no fuss, just keeps going. Probably lost about half a second at most. And into the final corner he goes. Obviously, Hammerlink winning the Drivers' Championship at the last event in Suzuka. Obviously, he wants some good results to cap off the season, but frankly, it doesn't matter to him anymore because he's Drivers' Champion. and also Vermin a team champion, so there's nothing else left to win apart from the last 2 races. And the mindset of him seems to be, may as well give it a go. Because I know plenty of people who, if they're in his position, would just not bother showing up and would instead spend their Saturday night doing other things such as watching telly or going down the pub or something like that. Connor Peltman's almost on the back of Cipher and Stoyan as we're about to go onto the halfway point of this race. So he's at halfway, about to get into the top 10 by the looks of things. So his charge is certainly on. Just looking through the grid as well, everyone kind of seems to have just kind of found their own pace, found their own pocket at the moment. Nothing too major going on. So as it stands, I think the most important thing that's going to be now is just preserving your tyres to the end and keeping it facing in a straight line.
Incidentally, those pit stops means that now everyone is back on the lead lap of the race. We'll see how long that lasts. Of course, we were just watching Connor Peltman. He is catching very quickly up to the back of Cyprian Stoyan, and that will be for 10th position and the final point in this race. Already, meanwhile, still pushing. 116.75 is his last lap, and that's his fastest lap of the race so far. Not the fastest lap, that's still held by his teammate Connor Peltman, showing again just how fast those Volcano cars are today. Halligan now with a personal best for himself as he continues to pull away from Christoph Berzer, and Alex Cochrane fastest lap of his personal race as he attempts to catch back up to Christoph Berzer. So drivers pushing and flying at this point in the race, many of them on fresher and softer tyres than the ones they started the race on, and lighter fuel just to cap that off. So some of the cars almost at qualifying pace now. Anyway, we're at the exact halfway point of the race, 23 out of 46 in terms of laps. No one fighting absolutely nose to tail on track, except maybe Stoyan and Peltman's over 10th place here, the last points paying position. Stoyan senses the danger, goes defensive, and as they head towards the braking zone of turn 1, misses it. Peltman's will be alongside him. Peltman's has the DRS. He'll be on the outside line for turn 2 though. And how much grip does that car really have? Enough to do a switchback? Not quite. Oh my goodness, wow, how did they not touch there? Off the road goes Stoyan, and they do touch on the exit and somehow get away with it. Goodness me, Stoyan's still P10, and somehow they're both still facing the right way.
I was convinced that was Peltman's into the wall there. I have no idea how he's still facing in a straight line, and also how he's still on the back of Cipher and Stoyan. Quality racing going on here at the Hungaroring. Peltman's now just have to bide his time through these middle and last sectors. There's no overtaking opportunity through here, and that is a Dalla Valle off the road. So Stoyan and Peltman's both promoted a place, and that's Peltman's having a look round the outside of Stoyan. That's Peltman trying to hold it around the outside of Stoyan. That's Peltman's now to the inside through the penultimate corner and getting through. He shuts the door on Stoyan. Great move from Connor Peltman's there. Into 9th place he goes, and now he can set his sights firmly ahead on Toby Sanford. It's quite a bit of a gap to the Oxtan driver in front, but he's got 22 laps to do so. He's absolutely flying. If anyone could do it, he certainly can. And Connor Peltman's, well, he's the man to watch at the moment because he is roaring away, Caitlin.
And did you see that weaving there from Stoyan after the incident? I don't know whether that was to test whether he had damage or tyres going off or whatever, or whether it was just him showing his disgust to Connor Peltman's, hoping he'd look in the mirror and see how angry he was. I don't know, I'm putting words in his mouth. But anyway, meanwhile, Mustafa Moradi set another fastest lap of the race. It's been going back and forth between the two Volpinos this entire time. And now it's back in the hands of Mustafa Moradi, the race leader since the very start of the race. Now, of course, the field's slightly spread out for the time being. We tend to see that at this point in the race, but that's okay because towards the end, when the strategies start to even out, cars come back together, and it's like an accordion effect as the whole field bunches up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get another good battle for second, third, fourth, etc. Moradi has seemed to have the measure of the field this whole way through, so if he keeps a clean, consistent race, he should be able to win it rather easily from here. I guess easily is never quite the right word for a race victory, but Moradi making it look easy anyway. another quick lap, not as fast as his previous quick laps, but pretty decent. And he's now 9 seconds ahead of Max Hammerling once again. But anyway, as I said, the field slightly spread out at this point, but it won't last, mark my words.
No, it certainly won't. This is going to get very, very close coming to the end of the race. I can guarantee you that. As we just currently following Halligan round now as Dalla Valle exits the pits behind Christoph Berzer, but he is a lap down, so that's nothing to worry about for these guys here. Halligan's been driving very solidly, I must say. Ooh! And Dalla Valle actually getting very sideways on his way out of the pit. We'll say that was just an advanced tyre warming technique, shall we? But yeah, Halligan has been very strong this entire race, just held his own, driven his own race, going around his own. He's currently P3 in a very solid podium position. He qualified well, he's racing well. And yeah, right now he's just doing a solid job. He's not put a foot wrong, he's just hitting his marks, going through the corners, taking it one lap at a time. And frankly, he's doing a fantastic job out there. I can't fault him for anything that he's done. Obviously, he's big wobble there for Alex Cochrane. I can't say he's on the same pace as Muradi or Hammerling, for example, but he's just done a stellar job. He's done what has been asked of him. He's done what he's needed to do, and currently right now he's sitting in P3 at half distance, and it's looking very positive for him.
David Halligan is the best driver in the championship that isn't racing either a Berman Racing Team car or a Griffin Gaming car. He's kind of best of the rest behind Hammerling, Schilger, and Smith. And still yet to get a podium, incidentally. He's got 5 top 5s looking at that, 4 of them being 5th places, and his best result being a 4th at Turkey, although yet to score a podium in this championship. Surely it's overdue, surely he's going to get one by the end of this series, and if he is, then today would be that day. That kind of consistency and championship position without scoring a podium is kind of Nico Hulkenberg-esque, but anyway, he won't want to keep that up for too much longer. 3rd place is in his sights, potentially even 2nd, depending on what Hammerling does. I do think that even if Hammerling has to make another pit stop in this race, he will probably still be able to fight for a podium. It's going to be a lot closer. Muradi once again setting the fastest lap of the race, over a second faster than the lap he set last time I looked, so maybe made a mistake on that lap. He's now once again extended his lead to over 10 seconds, back into the double digits, and it may be as much as 21 seconds if Hammerling needs to make that stop. So this is amazing stuff from Muradi, driver of the season so far, and he of course has also been on the up recently. Missed a couple of rounds earlier in the season, missed rounds 1, 2, 4 and 7. Cyprian Stoyan gets out of the way of our leader. But ever since then has been doing better, and actually got his first podium of the season last time out at Suzuka with a 3rd place. And to go 2 better and get a win here would be a fantastic next step for him. So 28 out of 46 laps done, and he continues to extend his lead and fly around as the fastest driver out there right now.
Yeah, Muradi is certainly showing his worth. He dominated those first 2 races of the season in the Challenger Sprint, immediately got snapped up by Volpino, and has just been improving and improving ever since, and now's his time to shine, now's his time to prove himself, and I think this is a great boost for him as well, because, last 2 races of the season, we've crowned our champion this season. If he can win this race and then next race as well, going into next season, he's a driver with a lot of momentum behind him. Who can, look by the looks of this, be regularly competing for race wins. And for, someone just to appear out of nowhere like he has is phenomenal. He's such a talented driver, and, I'm very excited for what the future holds with Mustafa. Now, I actually don't know that much about him. Actually, I know where he's from and his name. That's about it. I don't know, anything about him. I don't even know how old he is. But all I know about him is that he is just a phenomenal sim driver, and well, right now he's proving his worth, and he's on track to win this race.
Indeed he is. 28 laps done, and still a little way to go in this race, so we shouldn't celebrate too early. The top 9 drivers now on the lead lap. Stoyan and Dalla Valle have been put a lap down. Altmans is avoiding being put a lap down like the plague, trying to push to avoid being put back a lap down and showing the pace to do so. Right now, catching Toby Sanford, but by not really enough every lap. Actually, he may just catch him before the end of the race, but it's going to be difficult. I think the main intrigue in this race now is what Max Hammerlink is going to do. If anything, if he can keep these tires going to the end of the race, that will be an insane feat of conservation. And actually, he may be feeling the pressure from David Halligan right now. Probably won't be, because Halligan's about 11 seconds back, but Halligan just set a personal best lap of the race as well. And that means that if Hammerlink was to stop now, it would be very difficult to catch back up to David Halligan. He'd probably come out maybe 5th behind Cochrane and have to fight through Cochrane, Berzer and Halligan to get back up to where he is now. I'm not sure that even the great Max Hammerlink could do that at this point in the race. So that's the intrigue in this race. That's what we've got to look out for and look forward to. And for now, all we can do is speculate.
Yeah, exactly. It's obviously we can't predict the future. I mean, we'd love to, but we can't. So we just gotta kind of wait and see. Obviously, right now it's Moradi, Hammerlink, Halligan, Berzer, Cochrane, and then Dragoon as well. Those are kind of the top drivers out there. Southern and Sanford as well are there or thereabouts. The top guys. I mean, it's 22 seconds across the podium. So it shows you how quick Moradi is, and also how quick Hammerlink is as well. To be 10 or only 11 seconds clear of Halligan in P3. Then Berzer, Cochrane, Dragoon, Southern, they're all quite close. Sanford's not too far off in 8th as well after he had an unlucky 2 spins. Yeah, frankly, this is just about what happens with the tyres from this one, I think. It's what happens with Moradi's tyres. I mean, he took that initial stint so far, so his tyres should be fine, I think. But it's what Hammerlink can do. It's what Halligan can do. It's if they can just keep it on the road, keep hitting their marks and don't make mistakes. And then just about what their fuel and tyres does, really. Because at this point, it's just a race of managing yourself and bringing it home to the checkered flag. And getting those sweet points and sweet prizes. But until then, you know, it's just keep going around, keep hitting your marks, and keep doing what all of these guys do best, which is drive a pretend racing car.
Meanwhile, Cyprian Stoyan came into the pit, so that puts Gustavo Dalla Valle back into the top 10, the points-paying positions, and he will be benefiting from that. I'm still watching Mustafa Moradi because he is so exciting to watch around this Hockenheim. Sorry, not Hockenheim. I keep saying that, but Hungaroring. Two very different circuits, which in my mind are one and the same. But anyway, now we on the stream are watching Alex Cochrane as he heads up through the final couple of corners. Since we haven't got that much going on right now, I'm going to look up if we have any corner names here at the Hungaroring. I have an annoying feeling that this is one of the circuits where they haven't bothered, and that's never great. Yeah, I can't see any corner names on the track map. 13 and 14 with the hairpins at the end of the lap there, and that is not very inventive whatsoever. Turn 13 reminds me of like a carousel, kind of like the carousel at Road America, but a bit shorter in the opposite direction. It's almost like the Satch curve actually, except less banked. But anyway, Cochrane through turns 5 and then up towards 6. The chicane that feels very artificial, although it was put in when the circuit was actually built, hasn't been put in since. And then through the S's, which have changed a little bit over the years, especially the end of the S's have changed quite a bit since the original layout in the 1980s. It used to be a little more complex. Nowadays, it's quite technical and quite quick to get used to. And then you head through those hairpins to end the lap once again, and they are difficult hairpins. They're not the kind of hairpins which is just brake, turn, accelerate, like say the hairpin at Hockenheimring, but they're more kind of they're more treacherous in terms of when you get on the throttle, as you're steering and accelerating at the same time, sometimes steering and braking at the same time, and all of those things have a nasty habit of unsettling cars and making it a rather nasty track to drive. And there's another example of that actually at turn 2, which is quite a similar corner, the final couple of turns. Hockenheim very much characterized by its long, wide entry hairpins, and then fast sweeping S's in the later sectors.
Yeah, it's a circuit that requires a lot of precision, the Hungary. It's so quick, a lot of corners, which, you've got to be very, precise and careful on your braking, your steering input, your throttle input, and just,
Berza, something happened to Berza, sorry, it looks like he's recovering from a mistake. Alex Cochrane is up into 4th position once again, so Berza, I think, did make a mistake here. Seemed to go off on the S's, although I didn't see it happen live, and that puts Alex Cochrane back up into 4th place. Sorry for the interruption, Rose.
No, it's alright. I was just on a bit of a tangent about how precise the track is. Yeah, you just got to be very, very careful on your braking, your turning, your throttle, because it's what gets you time here. It's almost a bit weird, and it turns, especially in the first few corners, it turns a single-seater into a GT car, and it just requires so much patience. You just got to wait and wait and wait. It just makes you just keep everything the same, make sure everything is fine. You just got to be so patient. When you get into the kind of the second and third sectors, and that's when it's the real flat out blast with the high speed corners. But this first sector here, it is very much just kind of, it's almost like driving a GT3 car. It really is. It's weird in a sense, but it just kind of is what it is. Following Burrs around at the moment, who's got 2.5 seconds to Cochrane in front, but it just isn't really seeming to catch him, especially after that. It seems to be he was recovering from that spin. And yeah, Maradi just gaining further and further. He's now got 15 seconds to Hammerlink in P2, with 11 laps remaining now. So it's all just kind of steadied down a bit here. It's all just kind of the drivers just hitting their marks and bringing it to the end. But it's a very hot race. Obviously, ambient temperature 26 degrees Celsius, track temperature 31 degrees, which in a setter course speak is basically like getting into an oven. So it's quite warm out there. So it's just about managing your tyres really, and managing your car, and just making sure you bring it home, and don't lose grip on what is probably a very slippery track surface.
Quite hot and stuffy in real life where I am right now, although I'm nowhere near the Hungary. Same continent, but that's about it. Anyway, so on the stream we're watching Jan Dragoon through one of those long, frustrating hairpins, and it's interesting how you should say that corners like that, as Toby Sanford comes in from 8th place, it's interesting you should say that corners like that turn Formula 1 style cars into GT cars, because it turns GT cars into an absolute barge. But anyway, Sanford with a rather late pit stop there, only 10 laps to go. Maybe left a little later than he was expecting, but that puts Connor Peltmans up into 8th place, a good recovery drive from Peltmans, and won't quite put Della Valle up into to 9th. Della Valle still around the back end of the circuit. Sanford came in again, then he'd be in trouble, but Della Valle too far back to benefit from that due to his own incidents and accidents earlier on. So that keeps that rather steady. Now, the fact that Max Hammerlink has stayed out for so long and has gone into the last 10 laps of the race without stopping shows me that he is probably trying to leave it out to the end here, probably trying to do an insanely long stint on those hard tyres. And starting from second to last on the grid, honestly, I don't blame him for trying something a little unique, a little unprecedented, but it means that the best he can do at this point is probably second place, unless something really dramatic happens to Maradi. Max Hammerlink, though, if he does make it to the end on this set of tyres without losing any places, he'll have done an amazing job.
Yeah, he certainly will have done. Yeah, he's taken those tyres a long way, to be fair to him. So even if he came into the pits in the next few laps, I'd still be impressed. But yeah, he's done a stellar job to get where he is, a stellar job on those tyres. And you can really see, why he's champion. It's been a phenomenal drive from him. And although he wouldn't get my drive of the day personally, I'd send that to Maradi just for how dominant he's been. Hammerlink still has been an absolute stellar performance from him, and I really can't fault him. He's just been superb, especially coming from where he did at the back of the grid. And to just do that well on those tyres, it's a great performance from him. And yeah, just keeping that momentum behind him as well. And it's, keeping up that podium streak as well. That'll be 11 races now where he's been on the podium on the bounce.
Yep, indeed, and that is insane. For my drive of the day, it's too early to say, but it's got to be between Maradi and Hamelink. Those two have been fantastic. Maradi, of course, has not traditionally been as fast as Hamelink, but today has appeared to be matching him on pace or beating him. That Volpino car really coming good. And it's a shame that Kyle Peltman's had those incidents earlier on as well, because I think he would have been right up there towards the end as well. He hadn't got into a battle with David Halligan in the first couple of corners, well, Naji in a battle, and then of course being bumped off the road by an incident that was Halligan's later on as well. If that hadn't happened, I think that Peltmans would well and truly be in contention for a podium. But as it stands, Hamelink, of course, keeping his streak, and Maradi is still leading a lights to flag race, which is something that even Hamelink doesn't usually achieve. So great stuff from Maradi so far, but once again, we're talking too soon. There's still 8 laps to go in this race, and as I say, things are still set to become a lot closer towards the end. Maybe not up front, but we'll see.
Yeah, will indeed. Into the latter stages of this race now, and really it's Maradi to lose at this point. He's got 17 seconds to Hamelink in P2, has 14 seconds to Halligan in P3, who, to be fair, has also been very, very strong. And Cochrane behind just cannot seem to catch him. And then Berzer, who are on board with right now, just cannot seem to catch Cochrane. And then Dragoon behind just cannot seem to catch Berger. We're in this awkward stalemate where everyone just cannot seem to find an advantage over those drivers around them. And then we've got Southern Peltmans, who's put in a very nice recovery drive. Sanford in P9, and Dalavalle and Stoyan in P11. It's just got to the point where the race has just turned into, don't make a mistake. Just keep doing what you're doing, because if you make a mistake, you lose positions. No one's got a pace advantage over anybody, really, at this point. It's just about keeping it on the road, hitting your marks, and hoping you don't really go off. Because the car behind you isn't going to catch you, because they're no faster than you are. That's how close everybody is here in this Formula Trout Master Split. These are the best of the best in this Assetto Corsa single-seater racing. They're all so close together as well. It really is phenomenal. So at this point, it is just kind of either hoping the person in front of you makes a mistake, or hoping you yourself don't make a mistake, and just carrying on going around and slogging out the last 7 laps of this race.
On board with Alex Cochrane as he takes us through the second sector of the circuit. Alex has been there or thereabouts for a lot of this season. Also no podiums for him. His best result has been 4th place, and he's set to match that today. He's had 2 5th places as well. His 4th came at his home Grand Prix at Silverstone. I shouldn't say Grand Prix because it's not quite a full Grand Prix distance, although relatively long race nonetheless. The cameras that you're seeing right now are provided by Kilgore Trout, who's also streaming this stream, I guess. So thank you to Kilgore for doing that. You wouldn't have a stream anywhere near this good if he wasn't. And it's allowing you to see what you're seeing on your screen right now. That is Christoph Berzer just went past your view. David Halligan there now in 3rd position. Only a little way ahead of Cochrane. Cochrane's been keeping him honest, and while he hasn't been all over his rear end, he's been a constant threat for a little while now. Same goes for Christoph Berzer behind Cochrane, of course. And you look a little way back, Jan Dragoon not that far behind, maybe too far to get involved in a battle before the end of this race, but he's definitely there to pick up the pieces of something that goes even slightly wrong. Another lap completed for Mustafa Maradi. So only 5 laps to go in this race now. And Cochrane is actually closer to Halligan than he has been for a long time, so really catch him before the end of this race here.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's one thing to catch a driver, and then especially at the Hungaroring, another thing to overtake. And Halligan is pretty good at defending, to be fair. And we also know that Cochrane and Halligan have a bit of a history. If you hark your mind back to the Nürburgring of when they get close together on a racetrack, it always gets a bit spicy. So I think they'll both be wary of that as well. So I think it may just be a bit calm. I think unless Cochrane sees a clear move, he's just going to hang back. And I think, you know, if he does get close enough, Halligan will just defend for his life. And Halligan...
Here we go, around the outside, sorry. Cochrane already going for it. Got very close down into turn 1. And he's done on Halligan what Halligan did on him. And Halligan has to run off the road. Oh, and they do come together! Just as we feared. Halligan's going to be sideways along the straight. Berza avoids him. That's good to see. Halligan gets going again. Cochrane is in 3rd position as we talk. But that is what we feared might happen. Halligan ran off the road, seeing what Cochrane was doing, and then came back on right into his side, and suddenly found himself facing the wrong way, sideways across the racetrack.
Yeah, that is absolute disaster there for Halligan, who's been so strong all racing, but Cochrane got away very lucky from that. I have no idea how he managed to keep it in a straight line, but he'll take the P3, but I'm sure that will be a pretty heated post-race discussion, and also very much possibly a penalty heading to one of those two drivers, because, you know, that's a podium place. So that could be a bit interesting. Berza, though, if Cochrane's got damage, Berza could be in for a late podium here. So that could be interesting. Yeah, disaster there for Hammerlink and Oxtan as well. That is not what they needed.
Indeed. So Halligan, I'm just watching the replay, actually. Now, I don't want to point fingers, but let's just say I know who I blame for that one. And anyway, the race continues. So Cochrane is up into 3rd place now, but he's got Christoph Berza within DRS range of him. So the battle for 3rd position is not over yet, and could go all the way to the flag as we're in the final 5 laps of this this race now. There's good stuff between Cochrane and Berza. Berza's been the dark horse all the way through this race. Made a couple of mistakes earlier on. And again, they all did, and still Berza was able to keep in contention.
Yeah, indeed, and that's Berza running very wide through the right-hander there. Yeah, he's there or there, and he is closing now, so I do believe that Cochrane will have some damage. Sanford pits, so I think he's going to try and go for fastest lap of the race there. He's got a long time to Dalla Valle behind him, so he may as well try and get that extra point for fastest lap. So I presume we'll be seeing him going on to the C4 tyres. Either that or he's had another spin that we just haven't noticed. And he's gone round, and that was that. Peltman's has actually... Oh no, Peltman's got past him earlier. Apologies for that. However, Berza versus Cochrane. And Berza's got a huge run. No, can't quite get on the brakes late enough. But he is very close to the back of Alex Cochrane. Bit of a wobble from both of them. On the exit of turn 1 into turn 2 they go. Cochrane will presumably take the wider line. He has done so all race. Berza takes a much more shallow line into the corner. Now on the run up to turn 4. So a fantastic overtake here in the Challenger split. Absolutely blew me away. And well, the question is, does Berza have the tyre left? Yes, he's caught up to the back of Cochrane, but will he be able to get round him? Because I simply do not know.
Indeed, so we're into the final 3 laps of this race now. Pretty much no more opportunities for Berza to get past Cochrane. He needs to do it quickly, and he runs slightly wide, so he loses maybe 1 opportunity. I like the prediction thing that's just come up on my Twitch stream there. Can Berza stop Cochrane, I'll say. And no one made a vote, so obviously no one's quite sure whether he can or not. Slightly wide is Alex Cochrane on the entrance to the corner. Berza gets the DRS on the exit, but of course Cochrane would have got a decently fast exit due to the line he took. Goes defensive, Berza to the outside. You can pass on the outside here because in this sector the corners go back on themselves. Berza slightly twitchy. We saw that earlier in the race as well, and is not able to get past Cochrane just yet, who once again runs wide. But there will be more opportunities. Meanwhile, Dalla Valle's just had a spin that puts Stoyan up into the and Sanford going for a spin as well. So if he was going for the fastest lap, then that may have affected things. Dalla Valle has retired from this race, meaning that everyone who finishes the race now will score at least 1 point. Sanford pulling over to the side to give way to the battling Cochrane and Berza, and also allowing Dragoon and possibly Halligan to go through as well. So Sanford brawling around the circuit at this point, and the battle for 3rd may be about to kick off again because we're about to approach. And wide, Cochrane locks up slightly. may distract Berza. Let's see if he can get a good run out of the final corner, Russ.
Yeah, let's see. On to the penultimate lap of the race for these guys. Berza should have a good run with DRS, and he should have plenty of ERS to use as well. Obviously, the hybrid system that these RSS Formula hybrid cars have, the clues in the name. It's literally called a hybrid for a reason. Through turn one they go. Very clean from Berza. Oh no, not very clean from Berza. He spins on the exit of turn one. Too much throttle. That's going to Dragoon through. So Dragoon gets through. Cochrane will be safe in P3. And disaster for Christoph Berza there, the man who has been so strong all race, down to P5 he drops, Dragoon gets through, and that basically, unless Dragoon has something up his sleeve, will confirm Cochrane for P3. More late drama here at the Hungaroring. What a shame for Christoph Berza. He's been so solid all race, but we're on to the final lap of the race now from Mustafa Muradi. And, well, there's not really much else to say, is there, Caitlin? He's just been fantastic.
And that robs us of the battle for third between Cochrane and Berza. Berza did touch the wall, although I think he will be okay for 5th place. Final lap now for Mustafa Muradi, and he doesn't have much more ground to cover before he wins this race by what looks like 22 seconds. This is going to be an insane finish for Mustafa Muradi. He can afford to stop and have a picnic. On to the last lap as well, go Hamling, then Cochrane and Dragoon. Dragoon really pushing a lot faster than Cochrane on that last lap, although it's too little too late for Jan Dragoon, I expect. Saying that, he's getting worryingly close to Alex Cochrane here. Toby Sanford did just set the fastest lap, so obviously the spin didn't hold him back too much, and that'll be an extra point there for Toby Sanford, unless anyone else takes it off him in the meantime. Towards the end of the circuit comes Mustafa Muradi. It's been an insane drive. He pulls over, he starts weaving, he celebrates, and he wins. Mustafa Muradi wins at the Hungaroring, his first and only victory of the season, and it's going to be a formation finish as the other Volpino car of Conor Peltmans pulls up alongside him. Max Hammerling, with an insanely long stint on the C2 tyres, is going to finish P2. Great drive from him as well, and he's not the champion for nothing. That's a champion's drive as he comes second, 23 seconds behind the leader. And it's going to be close for third. Cochrane's just about going to hold on unless he makes a mistake in this final corner here. Jan Dragoon was the dark horse. He had a very quiet race, was approaching towards the end, but not approaching quick enough. Alex Cochrane takes the win, takes a podium, his first podium of the season. Dragoon is 4th, then it's Berza 5th, Halligan 6th, and Dave Southwood, or Dave Southern, depending on how you pronounce it, is going to be the last driver on the lead lap in P7. Also in the points were Conor Peltmans, Dave Sanford, and Cyprian Stoyan. And then, of course, Dalavalli, Bull, and Lawes failed to finish the race. So that is your order, your unofficial order, although that's how it looks as they cross the line.
Well, what a race we've just seen. Huge congratulations for Mustafa Muradi. He was absolutely phenomenal today. Honestly, he didn't put the foot wrong. That is one of the best performances from a young driver I've seen in Formula Trout for a very, very long time. Yeah, phenomenal from him. And, well, looks like we've got some interviews now, Caitlin.
Indeed, we do, and I'm not surprised. And it's Alex Cochrane who comes in first. Alex, do you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Fantastic. So your first podium of the season, and it came in quite dramatic circumstances. Talk us through that battle.
Yeah.
You had an eventful race right from the start, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had quite a good start, I think. I think 2 of the cars up front managed to take each other off at turn 1. Very unfortunate. Obviously, Max had a back of grid and Andreas wasn't here. So it's a good chance for some new people to get on the podium. But, you know, I'll take the positions. Yeah, I battled with Halligan and Boza for quite some time. And then, yeah, Halligan got past and then I just dropped it through the S's, which was a bit of a disaster. So, but yeah, after the pit stop, I managed to have reasonable pace. There was a little, whatever. I'll let you ask something else.
Yeah, I wasn't going to, but anyway, yeah, it ended in dramatic circumstances. You made contact with David. What happened there, and do you think whose fault do you think it was?
I mean, obviously, I can only see what I see, so I don't want to point any fingers. But from my point, you know, I don't know what I'm really supposed to do. I went around the outside of, I think, turn 2, and then he pinched me on the inside of turn 3. So, in my opinion, there's only one situation which happens there, because I can't physically make it round that corner, on the inside. So
Yeah.
I don't want to point any fingers, but that's how it felt from my point of view during the race. So
I don't want to sound like I'm stirring up drama, but that's not the first time you come together with David this season. Anyway, P3 in the end, that's got to feel relieving after such a long time getting so close to the podium.
yeah, definitely. I've been quite try to be humble. I've been quite impressed by my pace this season. I didn't expect to be like fighting, top 6, I guess, on average, maybe. But yeah, the top 3 when they're here, Andreas and Max are crazy fast, and whoever else manages to get the top 3, one of the vermin cars that happens to turn up. But yeah, it's really good to take a podium, especially after I think 7 or 8 races now without. So it's nice.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on your podium finish, and we'll see you in future races.
Yeah, thank you for streaming.
No problem. So, since I interviewed Alex Cochrane there, I'm going to allow Ross to have Christoph Berzer.
Oh, thank you very much, Caitlin. Hello, Christoph. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Hello. So, pretty good race for you. Just got a bit unlucky at the end with that spin, but just kind of run us through what happened.
Qualifying was okay-ish. We know this is going to be a tough race. We got lucky at the start, and then P5 or P4 competing with Alex Cochrane, David Halligan. I went really back and forth the entire race. Was just a matter of first, and in the end, everyone cracked a little bit.
Yeah,
that was
well,
it, really.
yeah, well, it's the Hungaroring's a tough circuit to master, and that just seemed to be what happened. I mean, how much did you think strategy came into play? Because we saw the Max Hammerlink just kind of going so long on that second stint. Do you think strategy was really one of the more important factors today?
I mean, yes, because it was a little bit tough on the tires, but in the end, not as much as I expected. I heard he had damage, that's why he pitted early. But I think, like the 3 of us, Alex Cochrane, David Halligan, myself, we're all on the same strategy, so it was just a question of can you undercut or not. I think the overcut was never gonna work, so just who puts the trigger first and heads into the pit lane. And I saw Alex Cochrane spinning, so he was behind me, and I know, okay, he was probably going to pit, so I just pitted in front of him, and that's what he did, so I came out in front of him.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. And then that spin at the end, was it just too much throttle out of turn 1?
Yes, it was too much throttle and DRS open. It is a bit weird because the car does that sometimes. Just you feel you have traction, you have your wheel straight, you put your foot down, and it goes for a second, it's okay, and then the next second it loses. It's on one hand a bit unfortunate, on the other side, I could have just gone 95% throttle. It is just what it is.
Yeah, well, sometimes those things happen. Thank you anyway, Christoph, for joining us. Good race out there and some good points on the board.
Thank you.
And that was Christoph Berzer, and that seems to be all we've got for interviews tonight.
Indeed. Well, thank you all very much for watching. Thank you to Ross McIntyre for joining me in the commentary booth. Thank you to Kilgore Trout for streaming this and providing you with the lovely camera views that you witnessed. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time for what is the championship finale. And yes, both championships have been claimed now. I guess you could say 3 of the championships if you include the challenger split. But there's still a lot to play for in terms of bracket rates and lower down positions in the championships. And it's going to be an exciting race meeting nonetheless. So it's not all over. See you in 2 weeks' time. And for now, good night.